Wow, Larry Friend just blows me away with his storytelling. And this time it's Snowy, the White Dove of Love. And I, in particular, happen to love doves. So I'm very drawn to hearing more about this story and to letting everyone else know more about the story because this is a real story, right?
Yes, half the book is a real story where it happened, but I didn't know where the dove came from. So that part of it. That part's fiction. The last part's nonfiction. For 28 years we had the dove, so it's nonfiction for 28 years.
Wow. So tell us about writing this and coming up with what's about Snowy. Where is Snowy from, or what happened with Snowy? Tell us the story.
Well, what happened when we lived in Chicago? We lived a lot in Chicago, which was a bungalow in the back, was a backyard. My children were coming from grade school, and they walked in the backyard, and there was a white dove sitting in the backyard in the grass. And they said, "Where did this dove come from?" They didn't know, so they went over to our neighbor to find out what to do. She said, "Well, get a box and put it in a box and take it into the house." So most people said, well, people that knew we got it, they said, well, he's probably sick and he's not going to last real long because why would he be in the backyard? So then my wife came home and said, what are we going to do with the dove? So she went down to Animal Kingdom, which was Animal Kingdom. It was in Chicago on Milwaukee Avenue, and they used to give all the animals to Bozo Circus. So there were lions and tigers and birds and stuff. So she went to Animal Kingdom to find out what she should do, and they said, well, get a cage for it, and said as long as it's in a room that can fly by itself, then it'll last for quite a while. So she brought it home, and for about a week it didn't say anything. It just sat there, just didn't make a word. So then finally, after about a week, she put it in the cage, and he started interacting with the family. And that's how it started. Because it was the whole living room was a bungalow, we didn't use a living room. So that ended up being Snowy's room for all those years. And he would fly around. And then if back in the 70s, I remember they used to have, they'd put wooden bars in the living room, and they'd have plants hanging. So what he would do every morning, he'd come out of his cage, he'd fly up to the bar, look up there, and then he'd fly. We had a couple chairs. Nancy would cover him the chairs because you can't really potty train a dove, you know. So, but he would one of there. We had a dimmer switch on the light, and it had a silver or gold inside. And he fell in love. That was his lover, was the dimmer switch. And so he'd fly up to the pole, then he'd fly to the one chair and another chair, and he'd sit there and coo all day just to this thing. And so, and we'd come home, and every night Nancy put the bird to bed, and then in the morning he'd get up, and then as he got older, he couldn't fly from the living room in because the doors were small. So he would walk into our kitchen, and he'd have dinner with us. And Nancy, he loved rice, so she'd put rice on the plate, and then he'd eat the rice. Well, and everybody loved this dove. I mean, everybody would come in to see this dove. Well, but I couldn't, so I kept thinking about the story, but I said, where did this dove come from? I just couldn't figure it out. And I said, but because he's so tame and was able to be picked up, I said he had to be interact with people. So then I said, you know, I'm gonna make him a magician's dove. So the story starts about Snowy's born, how he comes out of the egg, and then he's with his friends, and then they take the people that have the dove, they took him to Animal Kingdom again, and he was in the cage. Well, I talked about this magician. When he was a boy, he always wanted to be a magician. And so for Christmas, he asked for a magician's kit, and he got better and better and better. And so then he got so good that he entered a high school competition, and he thought he was going to be the best. His name was Marshall. He said, I thought he was going to be the best. Well, he got beat out by a baton twirler. So that was like a life lesson, because he says, oh man, I think I'm so good, but she beat me. So he says, I'm going to get even better. Well, then he got better and better. He started doing more and more magic. And then he got invited by Bozo Circus to do magician work in Bozo Circus. Well, then after he got really good at that, he started doing public appearances. And he taught Snowy and his two brothers to fly around the room and come in, and one was called Top Hat, one was called Pockets. So he flew around the room. Well, he loved getting out of Animal Kingdom. He was in a cage. He loved that. Then he loved being trained. But after a while, it got really boring. He says, you know what? I don't want to be a magician's dove any longer. So the next time I go in an auditorium and there's an open window, I'm out of here. So that's what happened. He flew out and he flew up in the air and he's flying around Chicago. He says, what have I done? What have I done? He says, who's going to feed me? Who's going to take care of me? And all of a sudden he sees this lot in Chicago, and then he falls into the lot. So that's how I started the story. I knew what the last story, but I said, what? So that's what I was. I made him with magician stuff, and he's just got a character, you know.
Wow, what an incredible story. You know, and I listened to your stories, and you're such a great storyteller. You really, really are, Larry. You have a gift for this. So I just wonder, where are you taking this in the future? What's 5 years down the road look like as far as being an author?
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'll do any more animal stories. I don't know. You know, you never know. I'll see like the other day we saw. Oh, this is sort of a funny story. We have a lot of wolves and things here too. So this wolf ran by, and he was missing his left front leg. And I said, so I'm looking at this wolf come by, and I said to Nancy, look, there's a wolf out there, and he's only got one leg. Well, I go, well, I was wrong. I think he is missing one leg. She said, how's the dove work? How's this wolf running with one leg? But so I see stuff like that, but I am writing a book about my wife and our life and how we went through things and how I got into real estate and everything. And that was called we lived on a farmhouse with no bathroom. So we had an outhouse for 2 years. And in fact, I had to take my bath in the kitchen sink. And Nancy always goes, I'm going to take a picture of you in the kitchen sink. And I said, no, but I wish I sort of had it now. You know, you see where it came from. But anyway, so then we moved to Libertyville, and we bought this log cabin. And that was with Snowy. Snowy was getting older in Chicago. And when we moved to Libertyville with the log cabin, it's all windows. There's like windows outside. And he got a second lease on life. He lived about another 6 months or something. And he was very, very good. And then when he got really sick, that was sort of sad. Nancy finally was really sad, you know, when we had to sort of put him to sleep. And I felt bad about that because he had a tumor in his head, and he put his head down, and that's another, I don't know if you have the time for it, but there was a funny story. Nancy thought he was going to pass away. So she said she took him to the veterinarian to put him to sleep. And she went and took all the stuff back to the store. Well, he went back to the veterinarian and said, there's nothing wrong with him. We drained the tumor and he's fine. So she goes back to the store and gets the food. And the woman said, what are you here for? You just brought the food back. She says, well, the dove's good again. And then the woman says, I just had to put my dog down. And so she's crying about her dog, so they're crying. But that's it. So then, but he did last a couple, maybe another few months. And
wow, what a story! It's a touching story, and the fact that the dove obviously had love for your family, because
very much so.
Why would it be so
he would
tame?
Just love. Nancy'd sit there at the television, and he'd just sit in her lap and he was very. And then in the book, because he came to Libertyville. And he's looking out the window, so that's how I brought the other characters into the book, because I had Squirrely the Squirrel and Starlet was the other book. He's watching them out play, and then I had a friend of mine, a friend of my wife, sent me. She says, you know, I had him look at the geese. We have geese and ducks and all that stuff coming up, and I had her look at the ducks, and she said, you know, when I was a kid, I had 2 ducks that were named Waddles and Twaddles. Can you put it in your book? So in the book, there's about this Snowy's watching Waddles and Twaddles come up the hill. So anyway,
very funny. I love that, because you never know what's going to end up in your book. So
no.
Larry Friend, once again, Snowy the White Dove of Love.
Yes.
You get it at Larry. You can go to find out more about you, LarryFriendPublications.com and LarryFriend.com as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yep. Good luck, and thank you so much.
And if I get another book, I'll let you know.
That sounds
good.
good.
My one granddaughter, we were writing a book it was called Grumpy the Groundhog, but I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'll do that book or not. Anyway.
Maybe.
Okay.
We'll see what happens next. Larry, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.